How are you? Good afternoon, everybody. It's so wonderful to be back here at the Torch Center for our Talmud Lunch and Learn. Thank you, Ed, our chef, for whipping up some terrific pizza here. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I wanted to share a little thought. This week's Parsha we know is Bereishit, the first portion in the Torah. And in this week's Parsha, we see that Adam is tasked with the responsibility of giving names to all the animals. And, you know, the commentaries go into understanding and trying to understand how he went about doing that. How did he understand the name for each animal? So our sage is something very, very important. It's all in the name. In the name you have the essence, at least in the holy language of Lashon HaKodesh, everything is in the name. So when someone has a name, like a dog, has a name of a kelev, so our sages teach us that a dog, Adam gave us this name for a dog, because a dog, what's its essence? Its essence is its heart. That's really what it is. It's all heart. That's why people love dogs. Sadly, more than they love human beings. Because the dog, it's just heart, it's all emotion. So Adam had to get to know all of these animals, and then after getting to know all these animals, give them the appropriate name so that the name represents their essence. So, you have the dog. The dog is all heart. The name in Hebrew is Kelev, which is Kol Lev. It's all heart. It's all heart. We have a you can pick any animal, and the name is not in English, in every other language. You take the word table, you take the word chair, right? It's just a combination of vowels and consonants, and everything is great. Okay, great. We have now a word that comes together. It makes sense, and to some degree or other. In Hebrew, every word is its essence. If you go into the core of the name is its essence. If you take another example, would be a cat, right? So you take a cat that's known as a chatul in Hebrew, right? If you look at the characteristic of a cat, you'll find that it has tremendous modesty, right? It digs a little. It finds a quiet space where it's not being seen. It digs a little hole. It does what it needs to do, and then covers it up, and then goes away. It's modesty. It comes from the word chitul. Like a baby has a diaper, right? A diaper keeps it modest. So too, a cat is called a chitul. You take a nimala, right? King Solomon tells us, Lech el nimala atzel. Lazy one, go to the nimala. The nimala is the little ant, right? An ant, the Gaon of Vilna tells us, collects over 1,000 kernels throughout its lifetime, while it only really needs one to exist throughout its lifetime. So why does it collect so many? Because he's a workaholic, right? The word nimala comes from the word of amel, which is amelut, which is to toil. He doesn't know how to sit still. He needs to toil. He needs to work. What Adam was tasked here with was finding out the essence of each animal and then giving it a name. Now, when it comes to humanity, we can go into many, many different. I can give you 20 or 30 different animals and their names and the reasons behind their names and how they define their essence, the true essence of the characteristic of the animal. The Talmud actually tells us something very interesting. It says that if we didn't have a Torah to teach us good character, if we didn't have a Torah to teach us good midot, the proper way to conduct life, we would be able to learn it from the animals. We would be able to learn from animals how to be modest and how to be hardworking and how to be honest and how to be charitable and how to be kind and how to be merciful. All of these traits are embedded in animals. Actually, very interestingly, the Midrash says that the eagle is known as a non-kosher animal. But the Midrash says that the eagle is such a merciful animal. It's such a merciful animal. It says that the eagle sees a goat. What the mother goat would kick its little young off the cliff. Doesn't want to do it. Doesn't want the young. It would kick him off the cliff. The eagle would fly and catch the young in the ear and bring it back, and then the mother won't kill it anymore. That's how merciful it has mercy on this young
kid.
So the Midrash says no. Then it should be kosher. We should learn how to have proper mercy. Learn it, right? Because we are what we eat, and if we eat an animal that has tremendous characteristic of mercy, then we'll become merciful. It's great. Instead, no, it's not kosher. Why? So the Midrash says in Parsha Vayakel, the end of Exodus, it says an amazing thing. It says it's not kosher because it would make us off balance with mercy. It means it's such a high dosage of mercy that we would be instilled with by eating it that we would be totally off balance. So there has to be a normal equilibrium with our traits as well. A person can't be all kind and not have any. A person who's all kind and has no other concern will not have food for themselves because they'll give everything away. So you have to have some elements of other traits as well. You can't just be all. Okay, so that's, I think, an important. What's that? We're going to finish here.
Okay, go ahead.
So too, our sages tell us, are our names, mankind's names. It says that every parent has a special prophecy to give their child the name that properly represents the child. So if you know people named David, or people named Daniel, or people named Gershon, they have identical personalities almost. You're like, oh, he's another David. He reminds me just like the other David. Well, there are certain attributes that come with the Hebrew name because the name defines the character. The name defines the essence of the person. Just as an interesting idea, it says, I don't want to get into this too much, but it says, and by the way, Kabbalists can just hear the name of someone and tell you their entire spiritual construct of who they are just by their name. Because they take the combination of different letters, and the letter defines their character and the essence. So, and that's why it's also important to always, if you pray for someone, to pray with their name and the name of their mother, if it's for healing, right? Because the combination of names brings about certain powers when they're spoken. The letter Aleph represents godliness, and we find that in many of these writings about names, that whenever a name starts with the letter Aleph or has the letter Aleph in it, it gives an indication that the person has spiritual tendencies, right? Strong spiritual tendencies. And we see this with many, many different letters, different names represent certain characteristics. And I think it's very important for us to know. That's why I believe the Talmud says that someone who gives a nickname to their fellow, they have no portion of the world to come. Why? Because if you don't call them by their proper name, you're not bringing their proper potential to fruition. You're giving them a different name, then they're missing their opportunity to have that potential come to the fore. So Hashem should bless us all that not only we should know our names and know what we're capable of, but we should use those tools to really grow and become great people who are close and have a very, very solid relationship with God through it. So have a wonderful week, everybody. Have a good Shabbos. We're going to continue our regular Talmud program now. To all of our friends online, thank you for joining us. You're welcome to like, share, and comment on these videos. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom, my dear friends.
Sure.